Welcome, everybody. I am joined by the legend, Fatty. Fatty, I've never told you this, but you were the reason I started this YouTube channel.
No kidding.
I saw your stuff, and I was like, if he can do it, I can do it. But
Well, that's the best compliment I've ever heard, because I love your YouTube channel. You're like the most prolific Star Wars CCG, Star Trek, like everything. Not Middle Earth, that's a different CCG, but the Lord of the Rings CCG.
yeah,
Dude, I love your content.
it's a lot of fun to have a secret that I won't tell anyone at work, where I'm like, I am actually a loser. So I hide it well.
Yeah.
But we're here to talk about Star Wars, CCG, Decipher stuff, when Fatty's next video is dropping, just sort of catch up a little bit. But I think maybe we'll start with the first question is, why do you do this stuff? Why Star Wars, CCG? Why sort of the Decipher? Why are you interested in this game from 24 years ago?
It's like, why are you interested? Why is everyone interested? The feel of the cards. Like, think back when we were kids, and I know there's younger people in here who didn't have the experience of opening a pack when you're 9, 10, 11 years old. And the feel of the cards, I love the glossy feel. I love the pictures on them they just bring back those emotions. And I was always into it as a kid. And then as soon as the episode 1 cards rolled around, kind of lost interest. And you're getting to be 16 and it's like, I don't need Star Wars cards anymore. And then they kind of always were there, and I would always kind of look through them every few years. But around 2010, I was like, I kind of want to collect every CCG card. So every Star Wars CCG card. So I kind of just was into it a little bit on the forums. They were super cheap, and I kind of collected Premiere through Death Star 2. And it wasn't that hard, and it cost me maybe $100. It was crazy cheap, 2010. And then around 2015, I was like, I want to get every Star Wars CCG card there is, blanks, misprints, etc. And I had a riot. It took me, I think, 9 months, and I was like spending an hour on it every day, emailing. I didn't want to buy like whole sets. I like buying individual cards and getting them in the mail and having a mail day from a whole bunch of different people. And that was just a riot. And then I put them all in these nice binders, and I loved looking at them. It was, I don't know. It was very masturbatory, but but it was very fun, and I really enjoyed it. And I had them there, and that was the end of my CCG thing. And so that was it. And
so wait, can I ask, how did you feel when you completed your collection? Because I felt like a level of emptiness. It was like, it's done.
I printed out the Young Jedi CCG list the next day. I was like, well, now what? It's either Star Trek CCG or Young Jedi.
I am a big believer of the philosophy that the life is the journey, right? That it is about the collecting. It's not about the destination. It's sort of finding it, networking, emailing people. When I completed my Lord of the Rings foil set, I looked through the binder. I'm like, I'm kind of thinking like, this one came from Germany, this one came from Poland, one came from some guy in South Africa. It was just like, it was fun to collect all this stuff. This is like a little memory. It's almost like a scrapbook, right? Collecting can be.
It totally is. It's just fun getting all these pieces and looking at them just come right together. But like that emptiness you had, like immediately the next day, I was like, am I going to do Star Trek or am I going to do Young Jedi next? Because there has to be something else. And getting those last few pieces were just so fun. Like the few Hoth things I couldn't find, the Hoth Japanese I couldn't find, and the whatever else.
The oversized, undersized.
And I was desperately looking for one of those misprint Hoth sheets. That was the hardest thing. I finally found one, whatever. But yeah, and then my collecting went to like other things. I started collecting a little Magic, a little bit of Star Trek CCG, and a little bit of Young Jedi. And then I kind of dropped off at about 2019, kind of forgot about it. And I'll tell you a real story, okay? This is why I started making videos. I didn't know if I was going to share this, but might as well, right?
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
Like I got diagnosed with a arthritis, genetic ankylosing spondylitis, and I was miserable, right? And I heard through all these people that you could cure yourself by making yourself happy. So I'm like, I'm going to make myself do something. In my first few Star Wars CCG videos, I was like morbidly depressed. And I just did these videos just because it was something to do to take my mind off the pain. And by episode 10, I was starting to feel pretty good. And I was running again, and I don't have that thing anymore. It's totally gone. And like the rheumatologist, like, you're going to have it your whole life. Dude, gone.
There's nothing more powerful than showing the doctor, right? Like,
I know, right?
as a former fat kid who's just like, you're going to be fat your whole life, he's like, I will only be sort of fat my whole life. Thank you very much, doctor. Like,
you know, I'm going to prove that wrong. Yeah. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing that motivates you more than like, this is what you're going to deal with. And here's some medication for life. And it's like, there's got to be a different way. You know what I mean? But then, sorry.
No, I was just saying, I mean, it's the thing about collecting is it's inherently kind of a solitary activity, right? You're doing it. You look at the binders and they only really have value to you. And I think it's a way of self-actualizing by sort of sharing that stuff with others, like through the YouTube stuff that you've done, which you've done some awesome videos. It's like you're sharing your passion for the game, you're sharing your collection. And I think that's where the good feels come in, right? Like that's where you're like, this is good. I'm not just like looking at 17 binders in the closet. I'm like sharing my love of this with someone else. And that's great.
Everybody loves it too. Everybody loves it for different reasons. And I love reading the comments, and like everybody loves and hates different cards. Like, you like that stuff, you know what I mean? And it's like, why do you like that card? I hate that card. It's just, it brings everybody out and gets the conversation going. That's why I love making the videos. And like season 1 was just kind of a crapshoot. I just kind of made it up as I went, and then my next 10 episodes that I did about a year ago to 6 months ago, those are more planned. And now season 3 will hopefully come out later this year. I'm not living in America right now, but when I get back, I got episodes ready to go. So I'm pumped to go. So
I'm excited for season 3, man. I'm nervous because usually season 3 is where good shows drop off, right?
For sure.
Like The Mandalorian happens, like, it's like.
I never saw The Mandalorian.
Okay. I'm trying to think what other shows had a bad season 3, but I just feel like plot-wise, The Wire season 3 was the weak one, I think. That was season 2. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. People don't know this, but I really don't like any Star Wars except for A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back and Episode 1. Those are like the only 3 movies I like. I
love Episode 1. I mean, I watched.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. You can watch it on repeat. Like, Jar Jar Binks is amazing. Darth Maul is badass.
No, like Darth Maul was like a legit good villain. Like Count Dooku, I'm sorry, Christopher Lee's a legend, but you have like literally like a fossil being like, I am a nimble warrior. Like, you are 79 years old, man. You will die 6 years after this comes out. Dude, at advanced age, like, I know you're a legend, but like, I'm not really scared of Count Dooku in that, right? Like,
no, like, he is great, but you're right. He's not menacing. Like, the work they put into Maul was just, I mean, that's why some of my favorite cards, the Darth Maul cards, are awesome. And the cast of Episode 1, it's just like, I don't know. It's just a train wreck, but it's the best kind of train wreck.
Oh no, I love Liam Neeson, like, Taken, like, or like that. It's just like a beautiful. Or the little boy who plays Anakin, right, is now just like working as like a car mechanic in Ottawa, which is sort of
depressingly sad. His life was like, wasn't he bullied and stuff? Oh
yeah, I think the fans were pretty juvenile towards him. They're like, this kid is not Anakin, and then but yeah, Episode 1 is some great casting.
What did you think of Episode 1 when it came out?
So I remember seeing it in theaters, and I really liked it because it had lightsaber battles, it had big star, it had all the things that a kid would like. And this is the thing I think that adults that saw that movie didn't realize is like, it was kind of designed for a younger audience. Like Episode 1's audience was supposed to be like pre-18, right? I think at least. That's why they sort of have the campiness. And campiness is also part of Star Wars. It's like there's a little bit of Ewoks or like the cantina. The cantina is campy, man, but it's cool.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like I remember me and my brothers watching it, and we were like, "This is really good." And then like a few viewings later, we're like, "I don't think this is very good." But then it took us a while. Like we're 14, 16, you're a little angsty, and you're like, this isn't that good. Jar Jar's so stupid. Boss Nass is so stupid. But then you come around. But I remember being almost like grossly, maybe I was like 17, but when I watched episode 2, I remember getting almost like upset about how bad the Yoda fight was. I'm like, why doesn't he fight with the Force? I didn't think he would have a lightsaber. And I know there's mixed reactions. Some people loved it, some people didn't like it. I was just like, what's going on? Why does he have a lightsaber?
I just couldn't. I remember seeing episode 2 like when I was like 15 or something, and just thinking like tactically the Jedi were absolutely incompetent. Like, all right, let's drop all of our guys into an arena filled with like
bugs.
These are people who go through like dozens of years of training. Let's just drop them all into an arena filled with these are the worst tactics. Meanwhile, we have this entire army that's like 2 minutes away, right? It's like very close. No,
isn't there a better way to do this? There seems like a better isn't there some kind of technology we could use?
Yeah. And anyways, well,
I got. Oh, sorry.
No, go for it.
I gotta add one asterisk. Like episode 4, 5, 1 are God tier. Episode 6, episode 3 are S tier. Episode 2 is probably A tier, and all the rest are F tier. So that's my rankings.
No, that's fair. I actually also rewatched. So I had a baby recently, so I've had a little bit of free time, and the baby's watched all the Star Wars movies because that's what she has to do when she sits in my lap.
Yep.
I watched the new trilogy, and The Force Awakens was like okay, and
okay.
It was like okay, and I was like, it just gets worse. And even the parts of The Last Jedi which were like maybe redeemable, they like ruined with the 9th film, which I forget the name of, what the Force Quakens or something. I don't know what it was even called.
Darth. What is the Emperor's Star Destroyer fleet or whatever is the name of the movie?
They just like pick words out of a hat for the titles.
They wouldn't be bad movies if it wasn't Star Wars.
Yeah,
if it was. I wouldn't watch them, but it would be just like another Marvel movie. It's like, okay. It's just.
Yeah, it's interesting with Marvel stuff. It feels like there's been a pause because the sort of market is oversaturated. We're like, all right, we're not going to do any more of these for a little while because people are tired of superheroes, which I actually am tired of. I was never really into superheroes, but I'm tired of them.
You're not into Marvel?
It just never really bit me. Like, I was never a comic book kid, right? Like, so it never really did it for me. But I feel like there's too many superheroes. And also, I think superhero movies ruin normal action movies because the bar is so high. It's like, oh, Tom Cruise doing his own stunts in Mission Impossible. I don't care. He doesn't have a laser beam eyes, right? Like, it sort of it creates an unfair juxtaposition that you need to make with every other action movie where it's like, oh, a train heist, this isn't that interesting. They don't have like Iron Man, right? Like, you just get so used to the pacing of superhero movies that you can't watch a normal action film without being a little bit bored, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. Everything's so grandiose and everything's just the most epic battle always, like for the whole movie. I've only seen 2 Marvel movies. I saw 1 Marvel movie and then I said, I'm done with Marvel movie. And I accidentally went to Ant-Man 2, which was fine. And I was like, me and my wife didn't have anything to go to. So we went to Ant-Man 2. I didn't realize that was a Marvel movie. It's like, damn it, I'm breaking my oath.
Yeah, I mean, like, Paul Rudd, though, Paul Rudd's a gem. Like, the dude's like 69 years old and he looks like he's 20 or
no way.
He's 60. I think he's like late 50s. We'll get. This is why I need an intern. If anyone wants to.
Oh my God, he's 54. 54. I would have guessed 45.
Yeah, right. Like, but no, he's just been like looks the same. Like, while we all age, Paul Rudd is the constant. Like, that is like he's like the sun. He just remains the same, right? Everything else is just spinning around him.
What's that? Oh, Paul Rudd's the man. You watch Tim and Eric at all with Paul Rudd?
Oh yeah, that's the thing. It's like his catalog is deep. Like, you don't really realize how deep it is.
He's in everything, yeah, man.
Paul Rudd's been in some awesome stuff. But back to the topic at hand. So, kind of season 3. Can we get a clue of when it might drop?
Hopefully this summer we start dropping stuff early as late spring. I have thing that's going to maybe excite people, but I have an idea where I'm going to bring random people on every time. And I really liked my roast a random card. It's where I picked a random card and made fun of it. I want to call in somebody random every week and we're going to roast the card together.
I love that.
And just really expand on that roast. And then we're going to like praise the card, because not all negativity. We want to praise the card too. We'll have both the praising and we'll do I was either thinking like we'll play attorneys, like I'll randomly call somebody and somebody has to be the defendant, somebody has to be the prosecutor for the card every week, and that'll be fun. And if you comment below, obviously I got to bribe people to comment on my shit. I have to say, give you a starter deck. By the way, I bought I think 11 boxes of Premier limited starter decks for like $30 a piece 12 years ago. So don't worry when I'm giving them out. So because I always love Premiere, but that's sidetrack. So I'm going to say comment below to be on the next week or 2 weeks away show. And you get starter deck and you get to be on my little judge and jury thing. I think would be cool.
Yeah. Guys, please reach out. If you want to do this, like comment below, we will get you in the lineup.
Yeah. I think it'll have a lot of hopefully get some hype going.
So I'm curious with going back to Star Wars CCG, because I feel like that's what you're kind of known for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
What is sort of your favorite set and least favorite set? I've always been kind of curious.
My favorite set, I know I ranked them before. Premiere and Special Edition are right there tied. Obviously, Special Edition is the worst movie, the worst. You can't. I mean, besides that, but the set Star Wars CCG Special Edition, I just think was just so cool, and it was just represents the most fun I had in the game as a kid, making Dantooine operations decks, and so many weird things you could do, making Wookiee decks, I just love the Disruptor pistols. Special Edition was just like the peak for fun, but like for collecting, I love Premiere. I love opening Premiere starter decks. I
love the episode 1 stuff because I'm just like, the AI rush. I mean, it was like this early collecting phenomenon built in there where it's like, hold on, this card's 4 times as rare and it's an alternative image, right? Or like that just gets me, right? Like that's the inner collector in me that needs to open packs. I
agree. Like I really like that where it's the rarity and stuff. And I had gotten out of collecting right at the end of Death Star 2, so I didn't get to experience that. And I wish I did. Kept just collecting just one more year, because then it would have been because they're such awesome cards. I love the set Tatooine, those effects. It's just so hard to retroactively balance a game pre-proliferation of the internet, you know?
No, absolutely. Like, you literally had to send people stuff in the mail, right? It's like, this card's been errata. Your local game store receives 700 copies of it. You can exchange your copy for an errata one, right? It's like, no, this doesn't work.
I know. The Star Wars cards could have been, maybe possibly still being made because if the balance issues were addressed, because it kind of started getting out of hand real quick. Because it was just like playing whack-a-mole. It's like, okay, now we're into Dagobah, and now Cloud City has to errata Dagobah. Jabba's Palace has to errata Cloud City, and we just got to keep auto-include cards. And eventually you have the shields. And then the shields even have a problem because there's only so many things the shields can do. So you they're still the gotcha decks. It's so, I don't know. Like,
do you play open format or do you just play retro? Or like, what's sort of your...
I love retro. Actually, this retro league, I'm so excited. Premier through Cloud City is one of the formats, and that is one of my all-time favorite formats. We actually had a tournament in Minneapolis where it was just Premier through Cloud City, and which was a riot. I love retro. Premier through Hoth is great. Anything up to Reflections 2, after it, I know all the cards in episode 1. I just don't. I've made 1 or 2 decks. And all the virtual cards I always read. I always like them, but I never really got into the meta.
No, same. I mean, I like the idea. It's like, I like the idea of soccer, but I don't really want to watch it. Like,
very difficult. It's very intense.
Like, I respect it. I understand it is physically challenging, or I get it, but I just don't want to do it for 90 minutes.
I don't want to do it, and I'm just so far. It just seems like you're so far removed from it. Like I've never done it, and I know the players committee makes it very inviting to learn it and everything. It's just I just like the retro format, and then there's the retro league. So why even mess around with something else?
Yeah, I just don't have the mental capacity to be like, all right, I'm gonna start building a deck. What are the 2,000 cards to pick from? Right? Like in this one, there's like 22, virtual sets. Like, I just can't. I don't have enough brain. Like
Uh-huh.
brain is bad.
Totally.
But
That's
I'm curious, what keeps you? So you got back into kind of collecting. You used it to beat a doctor, and then
yeah.
what keeps you interested now? I'm kind of just wondering.
Just when I made my first video, I thought nobody's gonna watch it, and then the response I got, it's like it's been kind of fun, and now playing the retro league, it's I I uh I think that it's here to stay. Like I'm not gonna stop playing. I'll play retro league my whole life, and I'll keep buying packs, and I'll keep collecting, and I still buy Star Wars cards. I bought some stuff for Premiere through Hot Deck so I could have it in physical form a few months ago. It's like they're not going to stop collecting, and I think people will teach their kids. And Star Wars always has that cachet and just the coolness factor, and I don't think that's going away. It's always exciting. I've always loved looking through my Star Wars cards. The sealed product is always cool. I think the market will probably soften for a few years,
Yeah,
maybe even 10 years.
yeah.
Look how weak it was. You could, on Troll and Toad, I think that's the website name, Troll and Toad, you could buy boxes of Reflection 3 for like $100 for 5-6 years. And nobody touched them from 2005 to 2010, You could buy boxes of Theed Palace, Coruscant, all 50, $60. They had stacks of them, and nobody touched them. That's how depressed the market was. It comes in waves, and I just think with the release of the new Star Wars films and everybody hitting 35 to 50 or whatever it is, it's a good age to start.
Well, yeah, we're kind of experiencing the nostalgia. Have you heard of the rule of 20 before?
Yes. It takes 20 years for everything to be worse.
I was like watching something they're talking about, like Ugg boots are back in right now because 20 years ago people liked Ugg boots, and like Ugg boots are making a huge, people that collect them. There's a huge collector's market emerging because it just hit like 20 years, and that's what, like with Star Wars CCG, it's like it hit it during COVID, so it was maybe accelerated a little bit, right? It's like, like literally 20 years after the game lost the license, it's also a global pandemic that caused everyone to sequester themselves in their homes and become crazy people. But like, I think there's more to it than just a nostalgia cycle. Like, I think that people also find like these images look great. The cards are funny and kind of cheeky. The game is fun to play. It's a nice collector's item. It is also Star Wars, so it's a little bit of a bulletproof IP, and it's not the sort of hated ones. It's not like Force Awakens. It's like very beloved films. And like right now, everyone like us talking about like collecting this stuff as teenagers, hey, we're grown up, we're in our 30s, 40s, like we have some disposable income, so why not use this? So yeah, maybe in 20 years, but I don't know. I might be dead in 20 years. I'm not really worried about 20 years from now. And I also have intentions of selling my stuff. So I'm happy with the collection I have, and it, continue collecting.
That's a good point about the rule of 20. So it made me think. I don't know this, but maybe like I know Mickey Mantle and all those big cards from the late 50s and 60s for baseball. How are those doing market wise? How are those? I don't know anything about them.
Mickey Mantle is like, I think there was just a record sale on that, but I think sports cards in general are not doing great. Actually, I'll tease this. I have a video coming out that is the 10 worst 90s collectibles. And it's just like all it's like Pogs and troll dolls.
Pogs, troll dolls. Any Tops or Fleer baseball cards?
A big one that surprised me was Looney Tunes stuff. Because Looney Tunes used to be like the IP of the 90s, right? You had like all this stuff, Space Jam. And then Space Jam 2 was a flop, right? Like no one went to see it.
Wait, because there's a Space Jam 2?
It has LeBron.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm serious, man. It came out like last year or something.
Oh, I guess it was a flop.
So, but that's what I mean. Anyway. So like, there are just things that hit this that they just don't ever get their stride back. So it's not an iron-proof rule, but there's a lot of '90s collectibles that were bad investments. Let's say.
Maybe, I wonder what makes the '90s so particular. I would probably be before the internet and people were, I don't know, you still could connect. I don't know why
Have you ever heard
collectibles. There's a lot of
story
collectibles.
of the guy who found eBay? It's one of my favorite little stories, but it's the guy who I forget his name, whatever. But he came up with eBay and he sold the first thing on eBay was a broken laser pointer. He's like, I'm just putting this up. No one's gonna buy this. And like some guy bought it. And he's like, what the heck? Like, why'd you buy a he messaged the guy? He's like, why'd you buy a broken laser pointer? He's like, oh, I collect these. Like,
That's a good point. The rise of eBay and all these collectibles coming out kind of tandem.
yeah, like I don't know when eBay came out, but I think it was like late-ish 90s, like 96, 97.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I'm guessing it might have been like maybe the first one was 94 or 5, but I remember buying Star Wars CCG on eBay because it was like cheaper than my local game store because I was like, trying to save some dollars here on Reflections boxes that were, I don't even know where they came from, but I feel like eBay was like 96 maybe. And so it kind of,
I just looked it up. I had to look it up because my eBay account is like one of the oldest, has a star from being the first, like when the first year it came out. As a special thing from it, I got an eBay story for you. Maybe I already told this in one of my videos, but this is a good story. Worth repeating. So 10 years old, 1996, me and my brothers wanted to pool our money together and buy a Black Lotus for like $200 or $300 on eBay.
that was probably the best thing you could have done in 1996 for money.
We wanted Alpha Black Lotus. My sorry, Dad. God, he's a good dad, but he refused to let us buy something that stupid. We were pooled all our money together to buy it, and we still give him crap every single time we talk about Magic cards. It's like, remember the time we tried to buy the Black Lotus on eBay, and you didn't trust eBay, and you thought, why would you want a stupid picture of a flower for that much money?
I mean, Alpha Black Lotus is what, like $500,000 now?
Yeah. Oops.
Well, that's the thing about collecting valuable things is like, if you had that card, you probably wouldn't sell it. You'd just be like, no, I have this and it's in a vault. So, but like, but you wouldn't.
You're right. I would say I would have, or else you would sell way too early. It's like, oh, it's worth $2,000 now. Sell. If you're going to sell it, you would have sold it at a point where it goes ×4 or something. You're like, you would never probably hold it that long.
Right. And if you've held it this long, the chances are you're never going to sell it. Right. Which is why a lot of these markets don't have liquidity. Like a lot of the stuff, I'm like, this is the rarest thing I have. I have no interest in selling it. I just like to know it's valuable. Right. Like, but I have no interest in selling a lot. Like, I don't know, like my Reflections 3s, or I have one Imperial class short foil. Yeah. I don't have any plan on selling it. If someone offered me $10,000, which is way over what it should be worth, yes, maybe, but like I don't know. I'm just not interested. I like having it. I don't want to give it up.
Yeah. What would be your rarest Star Wars CCG thing, you think?
I have a seal box of Coruscant. Maybe.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. That's probably like 2,500 to 3,000, maybe. I don't know, something like that.
You just don't see them. You just don't see
them. But yeah, that's probably the rarest thing I have for Star Wars. What about you?
I don't know. I always thought the blank front and back, the blank, the white front, the white front, the error misprints, and I got a few miscuts, and I don't know. I mean, I got everyone, so I'm assuming the Star Destroyer and the Corvette or the whatever
the most like conventionally valuable cards.
The Hoth, whatever Japanese. When I got my Hoth set, the guy just included an extra General Veers in the set just for the heck of it.
That's a fun one. I love General Veers, man.
Me too.
I love how they read Wikipedia that he actually is like involved in an AT-AT accident or something and like is crippled after the Battle of Hoth. I'm just like, what a rough break for General Veers. Just crippled.
That's the official lore on General Veers?
Yeah, I think so. I think he his AT-AT crashes or something, that he's like crippled and he lives the rest. I think that's what happens. I need to check Wikipedia. It's like that little like flavoring of stuff where it's like, this is totally unnecessary, but like I'm into it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, any kind of final thoughts here? This has been a really fun conversation. I know it's late here, it's early there for you. You want to
Yeah.
share with folks where you're at right now? That's kind of fun.
Oh, I'm in Ho Chi Minh City or Saigon right now. My wife is from Vietnam, and that's why we're waiting to make the videos back. I got my whole studio back home, so um, just waiting to get back and shoot some Star Wars CCG videos. Maybe I'll send you my email if anybody wants to shoot me a line, or I kind of got to talk to, if anybody has any ideas or wants to collaborate on anything, seriously, send me an email and
Yeah.
we can shoot something together, because I got a bunch of ideas, but it's also kind of, I want to keep it fresh, keep it fresh with this.
That is one of the fundamental challenges of producing videos about a game that's out of print, because most content's about new release coming out, breaking
Yeah.
news. And there's just none of that. It's like the last news story was from 2001, right? And like there's just no like the cultural zeitgeist has moved on, and there's lots of people that care about it still, but there's no news cycle to track, and that's just what most people consume, right? It's like the latest thing happening, reacting to current events or whatever. So you got to kind of be creative in this realm, I think, producing interesting stuff. But props to you. I've really loved all the stuff you've done. And keep at it. You're much more creative than me, just doing like,
Oh, stop.
here's a rote deck video. It's like a professorial lecture.
One more thing I got to say.
Yeah.
Me and a few other people have just been throwing around the idea of like redoing Premiere and New Hope and just trying to rebalance every card and making every card useful. So if you have any interest in that, send me an email. We kind of got like a list, and then I don't know what the end goal is. There'd be like 7 versions of Vader, 7 versions of all the mains, and then every single card would be balanced. It just kind of like nerf Destiny adders, change Sense and Alter, but make every card useful, and just trying to maybe make a new format. That's becoming a way harder project than I thought, but we got probably 200, 300 cards right now. So if you're interested in that too.
That's way more. I think that we have 6 cards. That's like way more than I would have guessed.
So hopefully playtesting, I don't know. I thought it'd be this year, but we have to, I have no idea. It might be 2 years, but that's a pet project for whenever,
No, that sounds super interesting. Maybe we can get an update on that. I'm happy to play test it.
Okay, cool.
The thing about me is I'm actually not very good at games. That's the thing. It's like,
me neither.
I'm like not actually very good at any of these games I talk about. I'm like, like Star Trek, I'm terrible at it, right? Like I played it like a couple of times. Like it was like setting up a board game.
But the Star Trek, how can you make a CCG? I love TNG. I'm watching it right now. But how can you make a game when their whole idea is not to have conflict? The whole idea of the show is the whole crew is just trying to figure out how not to fight. So how in the hell can you make a game around that?
Yeah.
Makes no sense. Be difficult.
All right.
And I gotta give my hats off to Decipher, because they did an amazing job with all these things, with their images on Star Trek. I keep wanting to say Middle Earth. Middle Earth
Lord
is
of the Rings, yeah.
Lord of the Rings. Middle Earth CCG is freaking cool too. All those things, they did such a good job on all their stuff. Even the Austin Powers CCG has some cool cards.
Honestly, like if you're ever in town, I will buy a box of Austin Powers and we can play.
Play it.
We will play the party game, Austin Power. I think it's like $20 for a booster box.
Is it like the Hunks game? It has like all the super hunks or whatever.
Boy Crazy, I think that one was called.
Oh yeah. Isn't that the boy? Isn't there a boy one?
Yeah. There's Boy Crazy. And then they have that dot hack one, I think, which was I hear that actually is like a good mechanical game. I just have no idea what dot hack even is. It's like a IP. And, it's like an anime maybe.
I don't know anything about it, but I know like the Austin Powers games kind of use the dot system, like Young Jedi. And then the war. Have you played Wars before?
Wars is like kind of okay.
It's legit.
Yeah,
it's pretty well balanced. Last thing about the Star Wars CCG, the biggest thing is locations. I think locations should be in a sideboard and being able to pull one a turn, because Zero Destiny hurts, and I think Zero Destiny and One Destiny should all be on mains. Anyway, I could make a rant for an hour about locations and pulling them. It really takes away from
It's
Premiere
akin to
through.
like Magic, right? Like Magic should also have a separate lands deck, right? Like I think
Yeah.
everyone agrees that like that's what should have happened, but
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't, and which is why you have like fetch lands and all this other stuff that like is trying to like
It's around it.
yeah, like let's work
So.
around this fundamental problem of mana screw, right?
Mm-hmm. Anyway, yeah, I'm getting excited again. I'm thinking about Star Wars CCG.
Dude, this has been a lot of fun. We'll have to do one of these in the future. Check out Fatty's channel. By the way, way better handle than Board Map. Board Map, I was like, I didn't like.
No. Board Matt. It's like board games, Matt. It's your name.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, it's okay. But now, originally, I was talking with my significant other, and she's like, "What if you were Board Daddy?" And I was like, "That might get the wrong impression." Like,
Board Daddy, man, you're gonna have the freaking I don't know what would come to your house, but some kind of 3-letter agency would be at your house.
So, are you running the account Board Daddy? I was like,
Board Daddy. No. That's a different Board Daddy. Okay.
All right. Well, Fatty, thanks for hanging out, man.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate you having me on. Love the channel.
All right. Well, sounds good. We'll catch everyone next time. And check out Fatty's channel. Link in the bio there.